even on the defensive side, and this is something I've tried to say, and it's like screaming Voldemort at Hogwarts, but Auburn fans just freak out. Like, the defense hasn't been super clutch moments in the second half either.
Welcome in to this week's episode of EG and Friends, where each week of the college football season, I sit down with one of my friends in the industry to preview Alabama's matchup any given week. Now, some of these dear friends of mine have an affiliation with the team that Bama is playing. Others do not, but the common thread is I want to share their magic with you. And it is officially Iron Bowl week. And so when we went to the drawing board to see who had to join me for this week, it was a small list of people because this is an Alabama channel. So we had to find someone that would reach you guys and also reach the Auburn fans that are going to be tuning in this week just to check on the other side. This is someone that I've enjoyed following his career, his own show. And so without further ado, it had to be Jake Crain. Thank you for being here.
What is up? Thank you so much for having me. Like I was telling you before we came on, it's awesome to watch all the success you're having. You deserve it. Good things need to happen to good people. And it's just fun to watch your rise in this industry. And yeah, what a week. Not for the Iron Bowl, but I can't remember. And I'm sure, Auburn and Alabama fans, the few things they can agree on will agree on this. I can't remember a rivalry week just across the board where so many games had so many implications for the college football playoff and for conference championships. And it's not just Auburn, Alabama. It's not just Ohio State, Michigan. It's not just Texas A&M. I mean, look at Virginia Tech, what that means for the ACC. And I mean, you go down the list. It's what an amazing Friday and Saturday we are set up for. And I'm excited to talk about it with you.
Well, it's one of those things, Jake, for me, I'm looking at the slate of games and we've been talking about it all week that the implications matter. And I think rivalry week is always so much fun just because you're bringing people together and you're getting these incredible matchups that in this era of college football, we're seeing some of them, come in and out every year, LSU, Bama being one of them, but we can all kind of hang our hats on rivalry week. And it's also Thanksgiving. So it really does not get better than this. Then when you add the college football implications of all of this, I don't know about you, but I am just ready to get to Friday and Saturday. This holding period, don't love it. Don't love it.
Yeah, purgatory is no fun. The only people it helps out is content creators across the board trying to get as much info out as possible. Because again, obviously, it's not like both sides in the Iron Bowl are have a championship relevancy right now when you look at what can happen after the game. But, just like some of these other rivalries, the second best thing you can do is ruin your rival season. That's the second best. Outside of you having an amazing, successful season, which everybody wants to have, and beat your rival, the second best would be to ruin your rival's plans of having a chance to win a championship. And again, that's not just the Iron Bowl. That's across the board right now when you look at it pretty much outside of the couple games where both teams have a chance to advance. So, yeah, it's the waiting is always the hardest part, but at the end of the day, think right now where we stand. It seems like the season started yesterday. It just still amazes me now that I'm out of the coaching element, because when you're coaching, the season goes by pretty fast, but the offseason takes, it actually goes by decently fast too, because you're recruiting. As somebody that's now out of the coaching profession, yes, the season goes by fast, but God, the offseason is so much slower. It's because I'm not recruiting or doing any of this other stuff. So, yeah, I'm ready for it to get here, but every time it's here, I know we're at the end of the regular season.
I know. It feels like it was just week one. And, what's interesting about this matchup for me, Jake, is up until August, I covered both of these teams.
Yeah.
And I've covered both of these teams for the last couple of seasons. I was at 4th and 31, so I'm familiar with the magic of Jordan-Hare. But it feels a little different this year. And I think there's so many implications going into this game for Alabama. And the situation that Auburn finds themselves in is a unique one. But when you look back at the last, I want to say 6 Iron Bowls, there has been a different coaching matchup in every single one. Now, majority of them have been on Auburn's side. And there was a, 1 year where Steve Sarkisian was coaching in place of Nick Saban, and now we have Kalen DeBoer. And so I'm interested from your vantage point, what is your overall feel of this game? I think I know where you're going to go, but I kind of want to set the tone with seeing what your take is on this game come Saturday.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, anything can happen, especially in this game. But I'll be honest with you, I hear and I know that the craziness of Jordan-Hare, I've seen it with my own eyes, and the voodoo, and this is setting up, badly against Alabama because Auburn's got quote unquote nothing to lose this side or the other. But how many times have we seen Alabama here lately, right? At least this last half decade and a little bit beyond, be the one that the pressure's always on to
Yeah.
make some sort of championship. Yet they've still found a way to win games. And until Auburn, like you can say, the fans do not tackle players. The fans do not kick passes. They do not throw passes. The fans do not call plays. The fans can have a tremendous effect. Trust me, I know, an unbelievably tremendous effect. But if the players can't make plays in clutch moments, I'm not saying never, because Auburn has made plays this year. They just haven't done it in clutch moments. And I mean that in all three phases. We all know the defense has been the best part of the team, and it's not even close up until recently, right? The last couple games that we'll see for the Iron Bowl. But even on the defensive side, and this is something I've tried to say, and it's like screaming Voldemort at Hogwarts, but Auburn fans just freak out. Like, the defense hasn't been super clutch in clutch moments in the second half either. I can go back, through to the Baylor game. The reason Auburn won that Baylor game because Baylor kept answering Auburn. They kept answering them, and then Auburn has the big kickoff return to seal it there in the second half. The Oklahoma game, the defense plays amazing throughout most of that game. Auburn takes a 6-point lead late. You really need to stop Oklahoma once, and you win the game, which you've been doing the whole game. Oklahoma drives right down the field and scores. Now, the offense, we know that was terrible, can't go do it. You look at, the Vandy game, obviously you gave up a lot of points.
Mhm.
You weren't able to clutch up in the second half. You look at the Missouri game, you got a chance to shut the door on them. So it's not just all on the offense, which has been bad for most of this season. Until Auburn shows me that they can clutch up in the clutch moments and make plays when the game is on the line, not when the game is started or the game's, not in doubt anymore. I don't care how much voodoo or magic or circumstance or nuance there is going into the game. I don't know if they can beat him. I've watched Ty Simpson ball out in big moments. I've watched Bama get big stops to put away games. I have not seen Auburn against quality competition that is greater or of equal value to them be able to make clutch plays and win games. So until that happens, we can sit here and live in rainbow land all we want and hope and wish and do all these things and throw pennies into a well. But until you make the plays when they matter most, it's hard for me to believe.
No, that's a great point. There's a few things I want to get to on that point. You mentioned Auburn's defense. One thing I think that Alabama has done extremely well this season, and it's something that I think at the beginning of the season, if you would have asked us all about, we wouldn't have felt overly confident in, and it's Alabama's defense and Kane Womack. He always says that good teams consistently get better and good teams improve. That has been Alabama's defense. Now, the offense in some ways has regressed the last couple of weeks. And I want to talk about Ty Simpson, your take on what's kind of going on with him. But defensively, Alabama is playing some of their best football over the course of the last few weeks, even against OU. There were some circumstantial things. The turnovers was what absolutely killed Bama in that. I think that's going to be key in this Auburn game is the turnover battle. It's key every single week, but that's going to be something that I'm really looking at for Alabama to take care of the football, for Ty Simpson to take care of the football. But Alabama's defense has been so fun to watch. I was talking to Xavier Brown post-game, and I asked him, where does this trust come from? Because, when I'm on the sidelines, when I'm around this team, when I'm around Coach Womack, it is so evident that there's a level of trust that really this team has, but I'm specifically talking about the defense. And he said, it stems from having a brotherhood, stems from, shared adversity, but also having that foundation of trust makes it so much easier. He said, it makes life so much easier to just go fly around with my guys. And we're seeing that.
No, without a doubt, it's a great point. And, Kane, I think, has done multiple things right. I actually think there's a good chance he's a head coach somewhere next year. And I'm happy for him. I know he came up from South. I knew Kane from there. And I'm interested to see kind of where he goes from here. I'm interested to see what happens at Arkansas. I think his name's one to watch as well. We'll see with Chip Kelly now being off the Raiders. I think, and I don't want to oversimplify it by saying Kane just simplified it, but if you look at the way Alabama plays defense, especially from a pre-snap standpoint right now, go back and watch the Florida State game. Now go back and start watching what they're doing now, because we were seeing the double mugs on the linebackers, and Florida State was killing them side to side, right, laterally, and he never got out of it. It's not that Alabama's going out there and running vanilla ice cream or peanut butter and jelly, but I think what he's done is simplify this a little bit from an alignment standpoint. Okay. Not as much an assignment standpoint, but again, it's just like in basketball. Where do shooters try and get to? They try and get to their spot. So defensively, you try and keep them off their spot. Well, it's funny in football, defensive guys are used to operating from a similar spot. whether it be linebacker. That's why you have an interior line and an exterior defensive line. That's why you have corners and safeties. Corners are typically on the corner of the defense. The safeties are typically on the back end, operating from similar yardage pre-snap. So the more I operate from the same spot, the more comfortable I get with that spot, then the more things I can do from that spot. Because it's not just what you show before the play, it's where you go during the play. And what's funny is Nick Saban, his disguise was make everything look the same. If I make everything look the same, you don't know what I'm going to do. So that's why you'd see those stone safeties that just wouldn't move. They'd be in the same spot pretty much the whole game, but they'd end up in a different spot, post-snap, which is when you really confuse the quarterback because the QBs see all the pre-snap stuff. They've got a good idea. So I think Crain has kind of simplified the pre-snap stuff on defense while still keeping, the scheme that he has that is able, to have an answer to things, that is able to be multiple to things, that is able to present multiple different things when the play starts. And then you talk about, the shared adversity. Our scars are what make us as people, typically. I would say for 90% of people, myself included. I'm sure you have some. I'm sure most people out there listening have some or some sort of adversity that has molded them. And typically it's good for us to go through some adversity to be able to mold us into what we're supposed to be. And, there's nothing, and I say this all the time, I'm still say it, I guess. There is no better fuel for an 18 to, how long can you play now? 25-year-old
my age,
male than embarrassment. That is an unbelievable fuel. It's like my brother always talks about, his buddy in high school that was overweight, and not saying this is right. They bullied him so much he lost weight. I'm not saying that's the right thing, but embarrassment is an amazing fuel for any person, let alone a very competitive 18 to 25-year-old red-blooded American male. So I think that Florida State game really reinforced that, and they've gone through that together. Now, on the offensive side, it's a lack of run game. We all know it. This isn't a surprise. This isn't a secret. It's not like there's some infighting between the cliques on offense or the culture's bad. You just can't run the ball. And when you can't do that, and I'm not talking about get Eastern Illinois or Sister Mary in the Margaret of the Poor State or whatever, but in the games that matter. And that's why what Ty Simpson has done is so impressive to me.
Yeah, I love that. And I do want to say the Eastern Illinois fans, I was talking about this in our show last night, Jake, they were incredible. Like, sometimes when you get these games and these fan bases have a chance to go to Bryant-Denny, they're just the nicest people. And so I was very impressed with how well they traveled as well as their fan base. And just,
you talking about Eastern Illinois?
Yes.
Jimmy G, baby.
I know. I'm like, guys, like we're missing something in Eastern Illinois. They traveled so well. I was shocked. They're great.
All 14 of them.
All 14 of them showed up.
All 14 of them came down and got to watch their team get murdered.
It was a little
good on them though. Good on them.
Yeah, and what was interesting too was because naturally, Thanksgiving week, it's Eastern Illinois. The crowd was obviously a lot less inside of Bryant-Denny. And so one thing I noticed is kind of off topic here, but like I could hear so much more, and that was so interesting.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, and like I could hear the call, like from Bama sidelines to the players, I could hear the different conversations. And usually at Bryant-Denny, we don't really get that opportunity. So I was kind of tuned in a little bit more. Speaking of that, Ryan Grubb on the sidelines. Give me your thoughts there. He was not in the booth. He comes down. Seemed to, from his vantage point, he said, I wanted to make a difference, and I thought I could there. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ryan Grubb could have been on stilts, in front of Ennisfree, and they would have beat Eastern Illinois like that. But again, look, Ryan knows. I don't think it's anything to do with him being in the box. Like it's why do guys go in the box? Well, you can see everything, right? Pretty much everything. Now, you don't look everywhere at once. That's not how this works. You have certain spots that are dictated where you look, and the OC is going to look wherever he wants to look. But it's basically impossible to see everything at once. But I always loved being on the sideline because you could look in your guys' eyes.
I hear that all the time, Jake. It's all in the eyes.
It's a human emotion thing. It's like a human feel. As opposed to being that far away. Yeah, you can see a lot more, but you're having to communicate to someone to then communicate it to your guys instead of being able to look at them and get a feel. Because you can tell, right? You can tell who's locked in. You can tell how they're feeling. And when it comes down to what to do on important downs, whether that be first, second, third, or fourth, being able to look those guys in the eyes really does make a difference. So Do I think it really matters in the long run whether Ryan Grubb is in the box or on the field? Unless he's going to put on pads and go down block somebody to open up a hole for a running back, I don't think it really matters that much. But at the end of the day, he can do what he wants, and obviously Kalen's going to let him do what he wants and needs to. So if he thinks it's better, I would trust Ryan Grubb.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So when, on the run game, I asked Coach DeBoer about it because 8 rushing touchdowns. Again, it's against Eastern Illinois. But I think that's going to be something that, they have talked about the last couple of weeks as a point of improvement. Whether it really looks like it clearly or not, especially with the offensive line not all, all ties together, that's been something that has been taking steps in the right direction.
Yeah.
Against Auburn this weekend, I want you to give me your 2 to 3 points of what Bama has to do well to come away with a win. And then I also want to hear your Auburn points as well.
Yeah, you want me to start with Bama?
Start with Auburn. We'll end
Okay. I would say for Auburn, again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. Look, the pieces are there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's like life, it's timing. Do you show up when you're needed the most? What do you do on 3rd and 8? What do you do on 4th and 1? And I'm not talking about, you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to do everything right all the time. But to my original point, in the clutch moments, Auburn has not come through. I don't care if they're on offense, they're on defense, they're on special teams, or they're on something I haven't even heard about yet. They haven't been able to find a way to make those plays. I've seen Alabama, they haven't done it every time, but most times I'm seeing Alabama do it. I don't need to be proven that Alabama can do it at home or on the road.
Yeah.
Right? I've watched Ty do it. Some of the throws Ty made against Missouri in clutch moments is an absolute butter festival. So if you're Auburn, you've got to be able to find a way in clutch moments to make those plays. And the second thing in the schematical thing to me is offensively, Ashton Daniels as a run threat. What has given Bama problems? We can go down the obvious rabbit holes of where Alabama's quote unquote has some weaknesses. If Ashton Daniels is an effective runner, which will open up things for Jeremiah Cobb, which will open up things on the outside and vertically down the field for guys like Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton Jr., that is where Auburn needs to live. And look, it's not like you need to save him. I know he didn't play last week to redshirt, but look, it's the Bourbon Bowl, man. You can't hold anything back, just like with Bama and Ty Simpson. If you got to run the ball 15, 20 times with the quarterback because it's working, or that's what's giving you balance when you need it, that's what you have to do. So I would say just lastly, and then defensively, I think the fact that Alabama scores the points they do when they live in 3rd and 7 to me is just, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Insane.
So if you're crazy. Auburn, if you watch, Auburn likes to rush 3, but they struggle to cover people when they rush 3. So you don't live in a world of absolutes. You don't do just one thing. You don't just bring pressure. You don't just play back. What will be the mix like from an Auburn standpoint, from a defensive play calling view on 3rd and 6 or more? Are you heating them up mostly? Are you showing heat and dropping back mostly like Oklahoma did? Go back and watch that pick 6. I mean, Brent was in his bag with that. It was a magic throwing 7 different kinds of smoke. So what will, just like we talk about run pass balance on offense, what about 3rd down and passing, pressure and coverage balance on defense? That's what I'm interested to see.
Interesting. I love this. I feel like, this is going to be a game where I do think that Alabama ultimately has the talent edge, but I think there are some spots that match up, pretty well in Auburn's favor, but also in Bama's favor. Let's go to Bama. What do you need to see from the Tide this weekend?
I would say the first thing would be from a special team standpoint.
Yeah.
Where are you? Like where is that relationship, that kicker, holder, snapper relationship? Because I know, everybody watching this knows if it comes down to a field goal for Alabama to tie or win the game, right? It's in a weird place right now. So how do you know about that? Early, not that you want to kick field goals, but let's say Alabama gets the ball first. They drive down the field. They've got a 47-yarder to take the lead and get some momentum early in the game. Imagine the confidence that would give Talty and that specialist group to be able to go out there and knock a long field goal through on the road to give them some confidence to maybe later in the game, feel a lot better about where they are after they just got booed against Eastern Illinois. And obviously Talty didn't help himself by the way he reacted after the miss versus Oklahoma. All right, so special team stuff aside, run game, blatantly obvious point. But what I'm interested to see is Alabama, I think, has done a good job supplementing, not replacing the run game, but trying to supplement the run game with quick game passes outside, now screens, bubble screens, hitches, slants, things like that. Then you take your shots over the top. And then how healthy is Cuevas? Because if you haven't noticed, Cuevas is a security blanket for Ty Simpson. Everybody talks about Ryan Williams. Everybody talks about Jeremy Bernard. Hell, everybody talks about the lack of a run game, and then they talk about Cuevas. Like, Cuevas is a guy that I think when Ty Simpson goes to sleep at night, if he's ever worried about anything, he just like that Wolverine picture. He's just like looking
He's
at a
looking at
picture of
his
Josh Cuevas, just like everything's gonna be okay. I've got this thing from Mordor running around on the inside of the field that's a matchup problem. So from a health standpoint, how is he? Because I think he's been the most underrated player
yeah.
on Alabama's football team all season and really causes problems with matchups. He's kind of sneakier athletic than what you think he would be. So, outside of the obvious in the run game, being able to stay ahead of the chains and then be able to take your shots, because Ryan loves going, just like any good offensive coordinator does, he loves going deep on second and short. And when the saddest part is when you don't have a run game, that makes 3rd and 1 less fun, right? Because you're like, well, typically, if we're able to run the ball pretty good 3rd and 1, heck,
right.
let's go heavy personnel.
Let's
Let's
do
go
it.
play action. Let's take a shot, baby. But I don't want to. But when I can't run the ball, I don't want to live in 4th and 1 because I don't know if we can line up and run power, counter, inside zone, split zone, lead zone, mid zone, any of that stuff, because we haven't been able to run the ball well. So that to me is obviously big, and allowing Alabama to take their shots on 2nd down and short. To do that, you must get in 2nd down and short.
One note on the tight ends that you talked about, Josh Cuevas, I could not agree with you more. I also think that I've been saying really all season long that when it comes to a Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb offense, the tight end plays such a unique role. And last season, the tight ends, in Robbie Oots, and it just they didn't have they were great blockers, right? And they could move, but they weren't pass catchers. This season, they are. And yes, Cuevas, I'm interested to see his health as well. We'll obviously get the injury report soon. But a guy that I think that more people should be talking about is Caleb Edwards, a true freshman enrolled in June from California, great human. He is so massive. Like we did a walk and talk, and Jake, you can only imagine the size differential. But
believe me, I had to block DJ Fluker. You ain't got to. I know. I promise.
I mean, incredible, and he's a guy that the staff really loves, and I think that that's someone that over the course of the next few years going to continue to get better and better. And he had a great clutch pass against Georgia, and so that's a guy that should Cuevas not go, you still have a guy like Caleb Edwards. And I just want to mention that because I feel like, again, not enough people are talking about that. One, I agree with you. Not enough people are talking about Cuevas, much less the guy behind him. But that's definitely something to
well, I mean, Alabama you're always going to have good personnel. If you have 2 tight ends, it's like having, I know we're a half basketball state now because both teams are so much better in basketball, but it's like having that stretch 5. That guy that can go underneath and rebound, but also if he's open can shoot the 3. Like, what am I supposed to do with that guy? Like, how do I guard that guy? That's why I always say the hardest bodies to find, outside of supermodels are nickels on defense that can stop the run and guard the slot that can cover, and tight ends on offense that can block on the end of the line of scrimmage or in the hip on the line of scrimmage, and then can go out and run a post, right? Or run post corner, stuff like that, or can get in and out of breaks. If you can find those guys, there ain't a lot to do with them. And typically that means the best matchup on the field for you is going to be at tight end. And Alabama having two of them, it shouldn't surprise anybody. I mean, y'all stay ready.
I love this. I feel like we could keep talking about the Iron Bowl, this matchup, all the different storylines, but I do need to get you out of here somewhat timely. So my last question for you, Jake, this has been my favorite thing to discuss all season long with the friends that have joined me. And that is, what has been your best piece of advice that you've received in this industry?
Oh, man. Well, again, you have to understand, I'm only in sports media by accident. I just started, they sent us home when I was coaching during COVID, and I just bought a $50 mic and started messing around, and it just blew up. So I was like, man, well, if I can get paid for talking about how bad the 19-year-old played instead of me getting fired for how bad the 19-year-old played, that's a heck of a difference. And, I started it, and we ended up doing a 6-month deal with Colin Cowherd and the Volume podcast network. And, we were renegotiating that one when I got reached out by for a longer deal when I got reached to out by where I'm at now. But I went out and met with him, and the advice he gave me, and God, he's taller than I thought he would be. Like Colin's like a tree. But he looked at me and he's like, listen, this is going to sound counterintuitive to what you would want, because you want everybody, like, you don't want everybody to agree with you, I guess, but you would want everybody to like you. He's like, I'm just going to tell you, everybody's not going to like you. That's impossible. Nobody's always loved somebody or always hated somebody. He's like, look, there are people that hated Elvis. All right. Not everybody's going to love you. He's like, really, the truth of the matter is, in this business, you want half of them to love you and you want half of them to hate you. And I was like, well, how do you go about that? He's like, well, that's the trick. You just be yourself. And if you're actually yourself and you're consistent, it will naturally happen. And if that isn't the truest thing that I have ever heard in my life, outside of trying to force it, like, or just individually try and get certain people to hate you or like you, it is the truest thing. He was 100% spot on that. So I would say that's why whenever people ask, they're like, hey man, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. What should I do to make it work? I'm like, dude, the only advice I can give you is, like, you just got to be yourself, and it's either going to work or it's going to not. Like, there's no, like, secret, you don't run into some column at a train station and end up in Diagon Alley or something like that. You just got to be yourself.
Listen, I knew that we were going to have fun with this. One, Braves fan. I'm a Braves fan. I love Harry Potter. This is 2 Harry Potter references.
Look, I love me some Harry Potter. I'm not afraid to say it. Like, I grew up in the Harry Potter age. Okay. And my wife loves it too. So
it's so good.
Look, I've got no problem with Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings like that. I'm an equal opportunity.
I haven't delved into that world yet. I think
you haven't delved into the Lord of the Rings world. I don't know if you're ready for not during football season.
No, I know. I need an off-season project, but I need a minute.
Sure.
I need a minute.
Yeah.
Listen, Jake, thank you so much for joining EG and Friends, and happy Rivalry Week.
Yes, happy Rivalry Week, happy Thanksgiving, and appreciate you having me. And again, congrats on all the success. Really happy for you.
All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of EG and Friends. Somehow, that was the last one of the regular season. We started off with Josh Pate, seems like yesterday, and now we are wrapping things with Jake Crain, like I said, of the regular season. And I have enjoyed every single minute of it. I cannot adequately explain to you guys how much I just absolutely love and adore every single person that has joined me on this platform to talk about Alabama, of course, talk about the opposing team, but also to tell us more about themselves. And it is not lost on me how incredible it is that I can, contact these incredible people and they show up for me. And so again, thank you guys for watching each week, and we're going to keep it going, so don't worry. But as always, I want to make sure that you're following my friends. So to follow Jake, he is at Jake Crain _. And then, of course, follow their show, Crain and Company. It's at Crain Company, and it is on the Daily Wire and hosted by Jake, David Cohn, and Blaine Crain, Monday to Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So with that being said, we have an incredible rivalry week awaiting us. Say that 3 times fast. And I'm excited to be a part of it. And I'm excited to head down to Auburn this weekend for the Iron Bowl. As always, I hope that you enjoy your weekend of college football.